Sure, I think we'll give probably 1 or 2 minutes more, Meghna,
Sure
and
thing. Yeah. Then we can get started. Yes, we should be good to get started with things. I'm ready whenever all of you are.
okay, all right. I do see Navneet, Yogesh, and then Marcus joining us, Dharmendra as well. Good evening, folks. Happy Friday.
Good evening. Happy Friday.
Thank you, Yogesh. I do see Prangya joining now. Um, should- Hi, good evening, Pragya. Right. We got total 14, including three of us. So one more and should be good,
One,
Meghna.
one more, and we have a good number. Yeah. Sure thing.
All right. Think we got
Oh,
it.
on the count of 15, maybe Vijay, good to start.
Sure, Meghna. Go ahead.
All right.
So, yeah. Good evening, folks. As you all know, right, today we are going to talk about Empowered as a book club session topic. Very famous, probably the best or highest sold book, right, in the product space, if you guys know this. And Marty is coming with the third book now, coming, right? That is again going to be really great thing. So let's see how things move. And then a brief introduction about Meghna. Meghna is an enterprise agile coach. She is working in this role since a while. I would say almost like 8, 9 years or a decade close. And overall, I think if I'm not wrong, around 18 or close to 2 decades years of rich
more than two
experience.
decades now.
More than two. Wow.
Yes.
Yeah.
All
That's very brief about Meghna. Over to you.
All right, thanks Vijay, and thanks Satish as well for all the setup, and of course for this opportunity. Every time I talk about books, I just love to read, and that's what you will notice in terms of the energy and enthusiasm of what I will share. But at the same time, I'm also looking at learning from all of you. So we will have some logical points where I would love to understand more, and of course, time permitting, we will try and have some interactive thoughts, questions, and ideas towards the end as well. That being said, let's get started. This is the second time I am doing a book club on Empowered, which is one of my favorite books, and I've read it a number of times, and it's always very interesting. And I'm going to share some of the things that have always caught my attention and found them to be my wow moments in learning. And of course, I will also be joined by Satish, who is going to share some of his perspectives, his learnings, his understandings, also basis this. So let's get started. This book is part of a set of books that Marty Cagan has been authoring on the topic of really product development, but looking at various facets of product development. So the book Empowered in particular looks at how do you really first and foremost bring the right set of product teams, how do you define your product teams, how do you really bring people together, right from hiring, staffing, and going on to developing people, and then how does the product element plug into this, how do people understand the vision, what makes up for all of this in terms of guidance, how to set up the teams, how to nurture, coach, and guide people to do their best. And the ultimate thought here is that People are people, they bring in very interesting strengths to the table, and seemingly it might all be so ordinary, but when things come together in the right proportion, in the right organizational setup, extraordinary products get created. So that's the overarching thought in this book, which Marty Cagan has authored with Chris Jones. Marty Cagan and Chris Jones, a little bit about the author. So some of you or all of you might be aware of the other book that is also written by Marty Cagan, which is called Inspired, which talks about a lot of product discovery and understanding your customers, and then really creating products that customers love. So how do you better achieve or focus on customer centricity and the likes, while Empowered talks about the people aspects. Now, where has all this wisdom come from? A little bit about that. I have read a lot about Marty Cagan, and not only his books, but about Marty Cagan himself. So Marty Cagan is one of the very renowned authors in Silicon Valley, and he has mentored a lot of organizations, different kind of organizations, and that is where this wisdom is coming from. So it's like a whole lot of practicalities, experiments, as well as experiences coming together. So I would definitely encourage everyone to read these books at length. And with that being said, let's get started. If you have just tuned into this session, please log in to menti.com, insert or enter key in the QR code 28404022, so that you get to join this journey along as I'm navigating through the slides. All right, so the first and foremost thought or topic that catches my attention in the book is all about the fact that we do have teams, we have organizational structures set up, every company has that. However, a lot of times what has been noticed by the author is that product teams are not really set up for success with a product centric approach. They are set up in the way maybe structures grew, or a whole lot of other reasons, but they're not really allowed to work in the way they're needed to. The binding forces, the constraints could be around their goals and KRAs to be achieved. Very typical example we all know and sometimes fall prey to is, there's a testing organization, there is a development organization, and so on, and they are in a competition with each other, sort of. So they're not really looking at products, but they're looking at more of the organizational silos and the like. So many such things do happen in the organization, and that's where I think the author has put up really this quote that product teams are more often not allowed to work the way they need to. Now, what would that look like? What would be the interesting way for teams to really work? And there is a very interesting video. Of course, we're not going to play it. I will be sharing this presentation and the video links if you like. So go over this. This talks about something called as the nature of product, and it unearths a lot of things. A person on the right hand side, this is Marty Cagan, and this person on the left hand side is Chris Jonas. Both of them together have spelled a lot of their experience about products in general and the like. So we're not going to go through this entire video right now, however, more for your reference. Now, moving on, what really distinguishes a whole lot of companies from the ones which are strong on the product side of things? And in the book, you will find a lot of examples of who they are. There are a lot of examples from Apple, for example, which is one of the noted product development companies, and so on. And there are three distinguishing aspects there. One of them is the role of technology. Now, technology, very, very clear, the emphasis in here is technology is not something that exists, in the words of the author, exact words, technology is not something which exists just to serve the business. No. Technology should be having, and you will see that in the subsequent slides as well, technology is recommended to have a very important role in the entire organization in terms of solution providing. So technology is not just to serve a particular business, or it's not just existing to automate something, It exists to provide solutions, and what kind of solutions, as mapping to the problems, and the technology together with the product organization, if there is such a distinction, decides together what's the best possible solution to provide, and not this is what we want and do it only this way. So there is a very distinctive angle to the role of technology. Second one being very strong product leadership. Uh, there are different roles that are shaping up irrespective. I'll keep it a little agnostic to frameworks and not talk so much about them. But really, some organizations would prefer to call or have roles like product owners, product managers, and then, they all roll into an organization, reporting one way or the other into the chief product owner, or chief product officer, and CPO, and so on. Irrespective, what's important is that companies invest in this kind of leadership. And last but not the least, of course, the main topic behind this book, which is about empowering the product teams. So these three aspects make the classes and the masses apart. Now, what do really empowered product teams get to do that others don't? So empowered product teams are given problems to solve. They're not given, okay, these are the sequence of steps. They're not given ready-made or even canned things. Okay, take and run with this, just open the can and get things through. No, it's not that way. They are given specific problems to solve, and they are empowered to solve it in the best and most creative way that matches what the customer requirements or needs are. And of course, they are held accountable for the results. It's a basic distinguishing point in there. Next, so what does this actually mean? So very important aspect is there is no substitute to developing people. We have got to invest in people. Now, this is irrespective of what your product is all about, irrespective of what your service is all about. Even if it's a service organization, we cannot and should not do away with developing people. So that's really the job number one at all times. And different roles in the organization will contribute to that. So here we're not talking only about people managers contributing to developing people. There will be mentors, there will be coaches, there will be a whole lot of things, whole lot of roles and responsibilities, a whole lot of people in your organization, but they've got to develop each other. So developing people, definitely non-negotiable goal. Empowering people, now this is a very strong statement, and which is exactly what is the topic of the book. It doesn't come easy. There will be a lot of things that need to be done to produce the best results and to really reach a state wherein leadership can empower people. Doesn't come easy, because for years a lot of organizations have lived in the command and control mode. However, it's possible, it's not out of reach. Then of course, being aware of insecurities. People are people, they will have all kind of emotions, and they will definitely, when changes are coming their way, when disruption is coming their way, insecurity will also creep in. What happens to me in the new world is a very important question that many of us will have in different organizations. So being aware of this, getting the right coaching, mentoring, or counseling as per whatever is needed from time to time. But for sure, don't leave people alone with their insecurities. Let's talk this out. Let's try to clarify. Let's help ease this. What happens if this comes up? Some things will be hypothetical, some things will be real as well. So make sure you don't undermine people's insecurities. And the fourth important point is about diversity. There is always a lot of conversation, lot of activities around diversity in different organizations. What's important is starting with the why we need diversity. Now, when we look at our different products, our customers are also diverse, right? We always address different market segments, different customer personas. Similarly, we need, if not equivalent, but we need a good diversity of thoughts inside our organization, because people are going to bring in different perspectives, some things that others cannot see. And here I'm not only talking about gender diversity. Diversity for me in person is a very broad topic, encouraging different points of view and trying to for sure listen, sometimes agreeing, sometimes not agreeing. All are okay. However, as long as they're conducive in the direction of a good product, they're all okay. However, diversity, in my honest opinion, is yet another non negotiable goal. It's a must. We need people to think from different perspectives and different angles, without which we are not getting anywhere with a good quality of product. Of course, teams, um, building the trust of the team members. Whatever happens, things will come and go. Product development will happen. Today we work on a topic, tomorrow we do something else because of disruption, because of the change in the organization strategies and the likes. However, if we have a trustworthy team of people, then they can definitely again come together and build the magic yet another time. So it's important to retain that level of trust among team members. And last but not the least, as leaders, as managers, or as people at grassroots, or as coaches, we all are human, and it's quite human to make mistakes. What's important is to learn from them, and to be able to learn from them, we need to have the courage that yes, this was a mistake. Every mistake may or may not need a public broadcast. However, what's important is to understand that yes, this is something which is in need of correction. So the ability to correct mistakes, I think that's very important aspect which flows from the people side of things to product development. There will be mistakes. There are n number of things, n number of products which have not worked for all the big names in the product development space. There have been things which have not worked for them. So it's quite normal. It will happen. It's just how an organization and people deal with it that makes them apart. So problems are going to be there, challenges are going to be there, some products are going to fail, and we should definitely be ready for this to happen. We don't live in a completely perfect world, and so this is how we need to embrace and move ahead. Okay, then coming to the people aspect, expanding on that, the author gives very interesting connotations. There are three things that the author is talking about in terms of enhancing the performance level of people who are reporting to managers. What should managers be doing? It's that kind of a view. So very important is for managers to do a gap analysis. What do we need and where are we? At least in three broad categories, which is people in terms of the skills, process, ways of working, different this product discovery techniques and so on, so tools of the trade. And last but not the least, of course, having a good understanding of the product portfolio. So at all times, this has to be part and parcel of the manager's desire and need to develop people. Do a gap analysis periodically, not necessary to do it every day, but at least once a quarter or somewhere like that is what is a recommendation in the book. Then build a coaching plan. So now we know we have gaps, and of course, uh, let's try and do everything possible to fill those gaps or to make things better. So we need a coaching plan, and we'll expand on the coaching role of managers, because that's a good part of the book as well. Managers as coaches. So a couple of quotes very interesting over there, and we'll talk about. And at that juncture, I would also like to understand some of your views on it. So building a coaching plan. Then last but not the least, do this periodically. It's not just something which is done at a single time in a year. We all develop. We all need to nurture our team members every single day. So this investment is required on the part of the managers. And to achieve all of what was mentioned in the previous slide, one-on-ones, the authors feel that it's very imperative to have good one-on-ones. So it's all about, whether you look at the Agile Manifesto, it also tells you about the same thing. Individuals and interactions are very important, much more over processes and tools. So effective one-on-ones, very important. articulating or focusing on a few things. Why are we meeting? What is the kind of relationship we want to build? What is the frequency at which we are meeting? And it should be more of a conducive environment to providing feedback. We know that everyone will miss on a few things, or few things are in need of development. What's more important is how do you provide a feed forward in that. So while the term feedback is what we very popularly use, it should rather be treated as a feed forward, and to see what best we can do from here on. So those are some of the themes or some of the elements of a good one-on-one. And I would like to open the floor for a really quick question. Does any of you, and I'm sure you have done a lot of one-on-ones in different capacities, in different roles. So what is your one personal tip for a great one-on-one? We all would like to understand that. You have the opportunity to get onto Menti and then key in your personal tip to a great one-on-one. This is a free floating text and you can have multiple entries. So let's give it a few seconds. People, please go ahead, key in your personal tip, which can be shared with a wider audience. Your names are not getting recorded in here, so you can be completely at peace and at ease when keying this. If someone wants to unmute and talk about it also really quick, we can spend a few seconds over it.
I believe this is Pawan here. I mean, so assuring personal uh, autonomy is not challenged at any given point. Assuring that autonomy still is intact, and the coachee can still take his or her decisions at the end of the session.
Right.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yep. No, very, very good point, Pawan. Thanks for sharing that. And also in the inputs people have keyed in, I think listening, and listening is a very interesting topic. Okay, so many times we feel the pressure of agreeing when we are listening. So especially in one-on-ones or otherwise, and that will come with a lot of practice, wherein you need to understand that active listening will help go a long way, and you need not agree to everything you're listening, but active listening will be a huge help by itself, to both the mentor and the mentee, to both the coach and the coachee, to any of your interactions. Otherwise, active listening without the pressure of agreeing to everything. No, it cannot be an agree all ever, but be a very, very active listener, uh, and cultivate that very sincerely, listening without agreeing. Empathy, respect, yes, definitely. Empathy also is something that doesn't come very easy. Thinking about really putting yourself on into someone else's shoes, not an easy thing, but again possible to cultivate and do a lot of that. And one interesting tip that I always try and follow whenever, and as a coach, lot of things do happen, and people want to interact on a lot of topics because they feel they are going to for sure be benefiting from some of this interaction. And in course of that, a lot of problems, lot of challenges get shared. So one thing I personally always start with when someone shares something is to give assurance through verbal mechanism, through my body language as well, that yes, I understand, I am with you on the challenge that you're facing. That creates a lot of buy-in. So use um, that kind of a stance would be my guidance, first and foremost, to understand that yes, I may or may not agree to the situation or your reaction situation. No question of agreeing, disagreeing. However, yes, definitely, I understand what you're going through. Types. I think that's the first very big step towards making a good interaction. Being non-judgmental, yes, double thumbs up to that from my side. Very, very important. Sometimes we all come with a lot of experience, and then that creates filters. So when you're actually getting into a real one-on-one dedicated conversation with a feed forward, try to be as non-judgmental as possible. Even if you have had good or bad experiences, doesn't mean history is always going to repeat itself. Now, communication, openness, yes. Cues that you are listening, very, very important. give complete attention, whether on a real in-person interaction or virtual. Try to refrain from getting distracted and trying to do a whole lot of other things at the same time. No, that's disrespectful, as well as you will lose the interactive edge. So yes, all good. Thanks a lot for being open and sharing about it. Body language matters. Do not lose hope. Do not give up on any of your reportees, or even if you're an individual contributor and having a lot of one-on-ones in course of your coaching engagements or otherwise, definitely do not give up on a challenge. Do not give up on a person, better still, because I read this somewhere, and that thought caught my attention. Do not give up on anything. Miracles do happen every day. So Yogesh, in the interest of time, we'll just take your thought and then move ahead. Yogesh, you can unmute. And
Yeah, and maybe one important part is that do not enforce your thought on another person. That is also an important parameter.
absolutely.
Try to understand what is the opinion of others and then come to a mutual agreement. So that's where it makes it a great one-on-one.
Right. And you can also share your experience at the max. However, don't be so very focused on this is the only way to proceed. There can be a better way, by the way. So just be prepared to share. Sometimes, people also might ask, your reportees or your coaches might ask you, okay, have you had a similar experience and so on. It's okay to share that without putting emphasis that this is the only way forward. No, there could always be a better way. Right, so thanks for sharing your thoughts. Let's go ahead. So the big picture in this book, here is what it is all about. So there are 2 swim lanes in here, and we will expand on especially the one at the top, which is in very many details articulated in the book, because there are a lot of things which can be generalized and hold true across, while at the at the lower end you see product teams. This is where things get very, very specific to organizations, to the products you're coming up with, and so on. However, the focus on both of these is almost equivalent. So the starting point is really to talk about company mission, objectives, and this being translated to each and every person inside the organization. Very, very important. It's not sufficient that a company leadership alone is embarking on a mission. You have to take that organization along, and in a very rightful, influencing manner. So very, very important that everyone in the company understands the company mission and its objectives. Several places I've seen, and which is a very powerful way to percolate it, talk about it in the town halls, place it on to the, that there are different online portals where employees can get to see it and so on. Spread it, talk about it, assimilate it, share it with people as often as you can. Right, then going on, Satish, you wanted to say something?
Yes, Meghana, can you go back to the previous slide?
Yes.
Sure. So connecting both the strategic context as well as the product teams plays a very crucial role in the implementation, right? So
Right.
once as a leader, once we set the strategic context to the product teams, let the teams pick and choose what objectives they would like to achieve, how they want to get it done. The discovery and delivery phase, let the teams take it up. That is first step of making or letting the teams move towards that empowered way of working. So that's what we started in our organization, and we are letting the teams take up the objectives, the OKRs, and the implementation approach as such. As a leaders, our role is to make sure set the strategy, vision, roadmap, and the concepts, everything straightforward, so that the teams can go ahead without any challenge. Thanks, Meghana.
Sure, Satish. No, thanks for sharing that. And yes, a very interesting point, which also resonates with my experience. And I've been part of several of such exercises and found that it's immensely helpful if team members are really taking up and understanding the company mission, and then deriving something which is more specific to their world, and then circling back to the leadership with it. I think that's that's a very interesting way of doing things. And at all times be prepared to share and circle back on what is in it for me. if I'm playing a particular role in an organization, how does all of this come together? So joining the dots, as what Satish mentioned, I think it's a very, very important point. We don't want it to be so high level that an employee at the grassroots has no clue of how his or her work is influencing that big picture. So that connect is very, very important. And again, leadership or managers can play an important role here. This is a very famous quote by Eric Schmidt, which wherein Eric talks about coaching is no longer a specialty, or it's not only restrictive to a bunch of coaches. Yes, most organizations, and I'm glad they're investing in full-time coaches much more than what I have seen when I started my journey as a coach. Not many organizations were investing in coaching so seriously as a full-time role for somebody, but now I see the paradigm changing. However, in the book, it goes on to an entirely next level, wherein Marty himself is also talking about a whole lot of you know interactions being so coaching intensive. Basically, it goes on to reaffirm this, that you cannot be a good manager without being a good coach for your team. So you're no longer dishing out commands, you're no longer as a manager just uh, creating what was traditionally called the work breakdown structure and so on. That is something the team members are much more capable of doing, because they are closer to the work than anything else. So as a manager, you need to look at the systemic topics. You need to sometimes get your hands dirty, being in the field with your team, not standing aloof and just watching the show. So this further goes on to yet another level, wherein Bill Campbell, by the way, is one of the very noted gurus. Unfortunately, he's not with us anymore. One of the noted gurus whom Marty Cagan also looks forward to from a product development and guidance standpoint. And Bill Campbell goes on to say that coaching is even more essential. So sometimes we often have mentoring endeavors in an organization where mentors keep giving out words of wisdom and what they have learned or imbibed. However, coaching takes the entire development of people to a new stance. And Bill goes on to say that coaches really at times work alongside teams. They get into the system, get their hands dirty. They not only show that there are better ways of doing it, sometimes by demonstration, but also sometimes by showing people the mirror, bringing out the best, sometimes really going all the way to make people and organizations better. So coaching very, very integral to creating empowered product teams. That's what is the key learning from this. So what are some of the responsibilities? Again, more for call outs, but one thing which is probably one of the most recent, or it has gotten into a high state more recently, is that of remote employees, hybrid ways of working, and so on. So there are certain things which are outlined in the book in terms of that. Apart from that, hiring, onboarding, performance reviews, promotions, nothing new, going on for ages. However, this needs to come together and blend beautifully in terms of managers being coaches for their respective teams. Now we'll go on to the next portion of this big diagram, big picture, and that is about product vision and principles. Very, very important is to have a vision for a product. Okay, you might say, come on, that's logical. Yes, but it's easier said on the slides than actually done. Most of the times when I interact with people who are starting out with developing a few products, they are not very clear. If I ask them to spell out what they think their product is doing, they would probably get back to me with a list of features or tasks. However, what is that lineup? What is that view of the product? That they are not able to paint that picture. So this is something organizations and leadership needs to invest in, creating a vision, ensuring that all people who are working on the particular product development do understand and feel the vision. Very, very important. So with that, we will go on to understand a couple of things about good product vision. We will also watch a very short video on the same. So good product vision, why is that important? Because it's like a guiding light. It's like a North Star. We keep looking at it and we know that this is the North, this is the way to proceed. It helps to stay focused so that we don't prioritize anything that's not getting into creating a good quality product. And last but not the least, very, very important, not everyone on a product development team will be a genius. That's not possible in any endeavor for that matter, rest assured product development. However, when bunch of ordinary people come together in this manner, work together towards realizing a North Star, stay focused, that's the interesting journey towards creating extraordinary products. So how do seemingly normal people like you and me would really work together is when they have their eyes and ears and brain set on a very interesting product vision. That's very, very important integral element, let's call it. And what are some of the elements? First and foremost, customer is at the center of the vision. There is definitely a very, very clear direction. A vision is finite in scope and timeline. With that being said, yeah, it can be changed, it will change over the years, or it will translate eventually into a different product and a different vision and so on. It's not written on stone. However, there should be something in sight, something visible. And last but not the least, leveraging industry strengths, trends, happenings in conjunction with customer centricity. So what I mean is AI, ML, this might seem to be the coolest thing available now, or in the fintech space, you have blockchain, you have so many other things happening and all that, Bitcoins and so on. However, if we are able to tie this only with customer centricity, what is the solution we're trying to offer, what is the problem we're trying to solve, then the customer will be willing to pay for it or invest in it for that matter. Otherwise, the industry trend is not helping us or the customer. So industry trends, industry strengths, the new and the coolest thing as matching to customer centricity. I think that would be the very important aspect from my honest perspective. We'll watch a quick video, one of my personal recommendations on how you should draw out the product vision.
Main menu, weather. Welcome to John Deere farm site. Field order, please prioritize. Work order, confirmed. Alert, irrigation. Irrigation system initiating. Incoming call.
Hi, Terry. We're finishing up your planter service. You'll be ready today.
Thanks, Sean. I really appreciate it.
You got it.
Alert, weather. Alert, weather. Files sent. Alert, row crop tractor 14 has stopped. Message, dealer technician ETA, 32 minutes.
Okay. So that's my personal message. Uh, this video finishes with something very interesting. Future of farming is in sight, meaning now people are able to see how some of the technology trends are getting integrated into something called as the famous farm forward thought or farm forward vision. So bringing things together in this manner, that's really creating a compelling product vision. Cool. With that, we will move on to a little bit about team topologies. That's the next portion of the big picture. Team topologies essentially are talking about how a company should organize its product teams. Some in summary, how closely are product teams matching, what are the solutions or the services being offered, I think, so that each of the teams or the product lines are to the best possible extent sufficient in terms of realizing why they exist. There are dependencies which will get reduced significantly with this, and also, what are the skills we need to build up to be better geared for things. So those are some of the things that have been articulated into the book by Marty, and further goes on to also talking about what are the different ways to empower different product teams. So one way to look at things, and of course it depends and should depend on what exactly are we trying to churn, what exactly are we trying to deliver or offer. One possibility could be platform teams, where we talk about the platform being sort of the product or the service, so platform as a service, shared objectives with not only within the particular platform teams, but even looking at a broader perspective of helping uh, product development for things that are based on this platform. So typically we could look at Amazon Web Services as a very good example in here. Then the other possibility is that of experience teams. Now these are really the end products which are more aligned to delivering something for the end customers. So those are the two things which have been so actively articulated in the book. Then moving on, product strategy, what are some of the challenges we'll talk about, and then we'll open the floor to what all of us have experienced. So I think a few things that have always caught my attention in the book, and which I have seen and experienced in several places, is talking about making tough choices. Okay, there is all kind of issues, all kind of challenges. There's the hippo effect, and there are favorites, there are cool technology things happening, and that influences prioritization to a great extent. But as a real product um, uh, manager or product owner or whatsoever, somebody who's taking decisions day in day out on the product strategy, very, very important to understand what is really important from a customer standpoint. If we are able to do something better, faster for the customer, I think that is where the winning edge is. It's not about, so most of the customers don't care if you're using AI ML or not using it, as long as if things are becoming better for them, they are more interested in that. Okay, so generating, identifying, leveraging a lot of insights, collecting a lot of things from inside the organization, from outside, from field, even when things are in the alpha beta testing phase, or sort of the first versions, the MVPs, the MMRs of the world going out, try to collect a lot of insights. I think this is where we miss out in big time on defining what the insights should be and how do we collect them, and how do we use things which make more sense, and so on and so forth, converting them into action, taking hard yes or no decisions, okay to proceed, not okay to proceed, and so on. And last but not the least, keeping an active management ecosystem, which is not micromanagement. That will be a dicey thing to get at in terms of product strategy. So product strategy is all about talking about challenges and how best we fulfill those, for our end customer and not being overly prescriptive. So I would like to open the floor for a few minutes with getting insights from all of you. What do you think are some of the challenges you have seen? And maybe Satish, if you want to chime in a few as well. Does this resonate with people? Do they have other list of challenges when it comes to defining strategy around products in any organization?
Definitely the people challenges are there.
Yes, people, their skills, their understanding, ownership, lots in that field. That's why a good portion of the book is dedicated towards developing people.
Yeah, sure.
What else?
Many times the first one is what is I observed, Meghna, like tough
Most,
choices on what is really important. The
yes.
product management feels everything is important. So
Either
we
they
not
feel or they are made to feel also.
they're made to feel exactly right. So
Influence, yes.
how much ever we try to set the context of different prioritization, or it's not just the prioritization, right? It is like the what is actually beneficial for the customers and users, right?
Right.
So we need to start understanding that. Only then we can figure out we can do 100 things we are capable of as an organization, but is the actual customer is ready to make use of it? That is the thing. If we can understand, that's when we can figure out what is really important or what could be actually beneficial to the customer and user.
Correct. Very much.
Yeah, the difference between the want and the need, right? Like
Yeah.
what they want and what they
Exactly.
need is important. Yeah.
Plus what we can as an organization offer. Okay, it's also a blend of that, right? It is also to do with what is feasible, what is the strength, going a little bit onto the sweet spot and strategy, but I think that's very, very important at this juncture. So we often see especially this in case of where we have the PaaS kind of platform as a service kind of offerings, where components are created, where reusable things are there, and every organization has that either like an enterprise service or something on which other products are built or other products hook on to that. That is a very challenging zone because they get things from all sides, and then their product managers have a tough time making those yes and no decisions. Sometimes it is like one customer somewhere in the world has a challenge, so do we go ahead solve that, or do we sort of address a larger customer base, and so many things have a role to play. So that is, I think, I completely agree, that's the most trickiest thing I've seen. Anything else? I think one other aspect also to consider is the micromanagement aspect of it. A lot of times we have people who are just getting into the expertise zone, they become soft targets for this. The hippo effect sets in together with it, and higher ups start to really micromanage what needs to be done. So they get prescriptions, they get all kind of things, and very precisely laid out stuff and all that easily gets into a micromanagement kind of space.
Yeah, that's actually right. Like doing lots of things versus doing the right things.
Correct. Yes. For sure. Yep. Cool. So I think apart from that, that's really what I had to share. Satish, anything you want to bring up or go back on any of the slides maybe? Or anyone else has any questions, we are good to open the floor for that. Do we have anything on the chat? I didn't find any questions out there.
I guess we have.
Yeah, there is one question at the start, like, do you have any product coaching? Let me just see, not coaching, the coaching plan guideline, right? Let me just read it out. The question is, any recommendation to build the coaching plan?
Yes, I do have one that I use very actively, and or rather two. It depends on what you're trying to do, and you can use either ways. So there is something called as a competency matrix. That's part of the management 3.0 stack. So you can easily search that up, and you should be able to find it. It's very easy to build one such for your team. Basically, it is looking at a set of competencies that your team has and requires both ways. How much of it do team members have, and how much of it needs to be built. So you can build one such together with your team, please. Build one such and then use that to derive action items and development aspects. The other thing which I have personally found very useful as a technique, and I have implemented it in a number of places, is something called as the Ikigai. Now, Ikigai is, just in case if this is a term you're hearing for the first time, Ikigai talks about understanding a person's strength and what are the opportunities that exist, or where do we want to develop people, and then finding a route to that. So that is something I use very, very actively to derive the coaching plan by itself. And both of these again are techniques you will find a lot of material on Ikigai also. It's possible to find a lot of questionnaires. There's a book on Ikigai which is very, very interesting. The book title itself is Ikigai. It's right on my bookshelf right now, and I keep reading about it. So those are a couple of things that I typically do to start with formulating a plan. The whole idea is also to build up a good level of accountability into what are the results we plan to drive together, because it's not just me as a coach or a mentor doing my part well in terms of either giving insights, trying to encourage action, making decisions, and so on. It's also the coachee or the mentee being far more accountable than the coach or the mentor. So these kind of things, in my honest opinion, bring in that level of accountability that, okay, this is where I want to develop. And at the end of the day, yes, the product development team, the empowered team that I want to work in, but much bigger picture of this is my own career which I need to develop, and that level of sensitivity should come into the coachee or the mentee. So I use these two personally. If anyone else has a bigger favorite, I think feel free to go ahead and share that. But competency matrix from management 3.0 and Ikigai as a technique in general, I have seen them give amazing results.
Thank you. Thank you, Meghana.
Do the management 3.0 provide competencies for leadership and then product management people also, or it's only from product team?
Competencies, you will have to work together on deriving that basis your job descriptions. The competency matrix is more of a structure to help do that. It doesn't spell out the competencies per se, if that was what your question was.
Okay. Is it possible for you to share any of the samples for leadership or the product management of people?
Yeah, I can share those.
And it's interesting how you are using Ikigai for developing the competencies also on the coaching plan. I think that's something which should be go in depth in the maybe subsequent sessions. I have not heard Ikigai being used to create a coaching plan.
I haven't seen too many people do that, but personally I have success stories of it. So very
Okay.
recently, I presented that in one of the events as well, and even otherwise at places where I have used it, especially people have enjoyed it a lot. The coaches or mentees, they have enjoyed it a lot, because at the end of the day, it has to be useful to them more than anything else. You can talk about techniques and frameworks for days on the end, but where exactly have you seen the wow moments as a coach or mentor, and as a coachee or mentee? I think that's what matters much more. So I have seen very good results from it, but I haven't seen too many people talk about ikigai per se. I'm not sure why, but for me, believe me, it's a very phenomenal thing that we have.
Good. Thanks, man.
Sure, my pleasure.
All
Okay,
right.
what else?
Anybody has any questions? We can take one more.
Have you done any comparison of this Roman Pichellar frameworks along with this Marty Cagan's framework, Meghana? It's just for my information, because industry is split across this school of thoughts. I just wanted to know, as a person, have you got a chance to evaluate these kind of different frameworks available for product management?
So what I typically do is to look at the strengths of each. Simple as that. I start with the customer centric viewpoint in terms of what am I looking at driving, what am I looking at achieving, or what are the challenges I'm looking at solving, and then go back on what's the best possible thing. And sometimes I might blend multiple things together. For example, I really like it the way Mycon puts up things in agile estimation and so on. So that's one book I absolutely enjoy. I enjoy Lisa Atkins coaching agile teams, and whatever is really applicable to a particular situation. So I think my thought process has always been to blend things together instead of whether one is better over the other. May not be. Let's mix and match is what I always aim at doing. So what I have found very useful in the book Inspired, for example, is a lot of product discovery, customer personas, and learnings around those. What I found very interesting in the book Empowered, for example, is the emphasis on people, the emphasis on giving them the right amount of empowerment, yet building in that accountability. So, if I were to really take both of these in, yes. And then, of course, you have a lot of interesting insights that have come from uh, the likes of Roman Pichler, Mike Kohn, and several others. So I think I prefer blending than comparing and contrasting.
Okay, last question. Is there any recommendation for product operating model which Vijay is actually trying to establish within our community? Is any of these books or the material touching those operating model aspects, or it separates, it stands separately?
I don't think it should stand separate, and for sure, product operating model should be something very integral to product development per se. Okay, so uh, I take them alongside, and for me, that's the best product operating model, which will help. So in a way, we will also be able to, again, it's all about blending the lean startup concepts. Eric Rice, The Lean Startup, if you've read that book, very interesting. And what it talks about in a nutshell is to really have a good flow through the system. Start with a few things, take them out to your customer, learn from it, inspect and adapt, make your decisions, go forward with the subsequent product development. So I think the product operating model should blend with that, and providing enough focus in the system and enough enablement so that we are able to actually live that through, actually able to have those flow through the features. Gone are the days when we are going to develop something for 18 months, 24 months, and then release something. No one has the time and opportunity to wait today. Even healthcare to aeronautics, everything has a faster life cycle to their product development now. So I think these again blend together with the books that we are picking up in the space in terms of inspired or empowered. But, that's entirely my viewpoint. Maybe Vijay, you want to add something to this?
No, Meghna. So I think uh, the model or operating model, right, which we are trying to devise, as you said, right, uh, obviously n- n- getting to know all the things first, right, and then trying to do again, not like mixing everything, but what we have seen, right, many a times. Interesting reading. I am doing research on something called as product iceberging right nowadays. Many of the products, right, they are at the stage where they don't need to be maintained at all, right? We can take help of basic AI or automation, right, to maintain them and focus on something of greater value or where we can add more revenue. However, what interestingly has been observed, though it is the case, many organizations they are focusing on it largely because some of the products are like flagship products, understood, but there are quite a list of products which are not giving you that also, but you just want to keep them live, right, for the sake. So my reading or research as the moment is like, how do we, right, address that situation in a way where people get easier perspectives which can be implemented. And again, at the top of, right, everything is how do you have that product management entire, right, life cycle integrated across, right. When we say product management till that, right, everyone just talks about mm still, right, siloed product development, not like
Correct.
entire
It
integration.
hampers flow eventually. So the
Yeah,
more siloed you will be, the flow
right. So
will be.
the some of the challenges which I'm observing while preparing some draft or sort of I don't know which we call as operating model, because we are not devising it newly, fresh, but trying to understand from different situations, right, context, and then providing a clear sort of view on those points, right. And we are also coming with some hard core rules as well. If you don't have anything, right, like we do in estimations, right, you need to start somewhere, right. So how do you start, how do you make progress? So in that case, there is a larger challenge I do see, not able to define any one thing where we can actually stay, right, because the space is really big. When I started, I thought that it is not that big, but since I'm reading, right, I'm finding it is way beyond imagination, like lot many things. How do we integrate, right, how do we bring everything right, short sweet way, trying to learn. Hopefully I'm expecting by end of this year we'll have this product operating model. uh, I don't know whether we can copyright it or not, but something we would also like to propose to the community. This is what our product model. It has lot of research and everything. You may take a look at it, and we may keep some open-ended, right, threads in that, so that people can adjust or incorporate things, right, as and when we make progress. Mm, That's what is happening. Sorry, I took like 3 minutes, but
No
uh,
worries.
wa- wanted to tell about what's happening at the back end.
Right. Good. Yeah. Thanks for sharing. That's quite interesting. Do we have anything on the chat? I've not been monitoring it. If not,
N-
we are good to close
No,
now.
no, I think we don't have anything. I guess with the interest of time, I guess thank you, Meghna, once again. Back to back 2 weeks, not easy. Uh,
Not easy with a whole lot
uh,
of things going
very
on.
difficult. Even for me, attending is difficult, and you are driving it, so not at all easy. Huge round of thank you. Thank you, Satish, to you as well. Thank you, Balaji, and everyone for joining. We'll share the recordings, and those who have joined first time, like Yogesh or Sandeep or Srinivasan, we are going to continue it with at least until the end of April with few more good books, and then May onwards we are going to have very specific sessions where we will teach all the concepts as well, but not like a book thing. As we said, right, we are devising something called as target or product operating model, right? So it will be part of that journey, and some initial what do you say chapters we would try to again introduce in the community, and that's where I think it is very, very interesting space, right? And we are setting that foundation now.
Sure. Yep.
Thank you, Meghna. Thank you, everyone. Have a good weekend.
Thank you.
Bye bye. Take care, guys. Bye.